Dr. Eggman. The facility is in 100% lockdown.
Why does that cursed Sonic always get in my way?
He doesn't get in your way, Dr. Eggman. Sonic just tries to stop you from doing all the bad things you like to do.
Oh, is that so? Well, he's too late to stop me this time. Once I insert the last Chaos Emerald, my energy amplifier will be invincible.
But you can't do that! Chow, chow, chow! That's right! Sonic won't let you get away with this!
You're wrong, Creamy Dreamy. He can't stop us!
Sonic!
Sonic! Too late. You'll never stop me now, Sonic. All I have to do is to push this little button.
Yeah, if you can push it before I grab it.
Why don't you give it a try? I appear to be in a digital dimension. I've employed similar constructs in my own systems, but this is markedly more advanced. Note to self, don't admit that to anyone. The amount of data stored here defies quantification. But it won't stop me from trying.
That's good. Now Zoom's going to want to play. Hey, look at that. Zoom
It's
is being his
working.
usual zoomy self.
Really?
You know, hard to believe. I know.
That's crazy, man. Because I was like, wait, did it work? Did I push the wrong thing? Or
I had the screen in front of me. It disappeared. I heard recording in progress, and then Zoom was nowhere to be found. Craziness, I tell you.
I'm sorry. How you doing, Mike?
Very well, thank you, Philip. How are you?
Great. How's the first week of August treating you? I know we just got out of the summertime now. Kids are back in school.
A
So,
little hot, a little rainy, but I got stuff to do this weekend. A lovely fan convention appearance this weekend. Another convention appearance next weekend. So the world is good.
there you go. There you go. It was my mom's birthday yesterday, so we went out.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we went out to the Mexican restaurant.
Excellent choice.
So,
Sorry, I should have sent a card.
yeah, it's okay. There's no way you could have known, man. You're fine.
Perfect. Remind me
Fine.
next year.
You're good. I took her. Thing is, we also took her to go see the Spider-Man movie last weekend.
Excellent.
So
Spider-Man Day was Saturday. I didn't send any cards for that either. I'm so behind on my card sending. It's terrible.
Oh shoot! Well, I don't want to. Well, if you haven't seen the movie yet, right?
No.
Okay. I won't spoil it for you. I won't spoil it.
It's cool.
I won't say nothing.
Not a problem.
Gotcha. So, but overall, you having a good day so far?
Oh, yeah. Everything's
That's-
under control.
That's great.
It's
That's
not
great.
under control, but now it's under control.
Oh, it's great to hear. Well, if the small talk is over, I guess we could go ahead and get this thing underway.
Let's do it.
So, greetings everybody. This is Phil. I'm host of the Conversation Podcast, and season 3 premiere continues. So, I have a special guest with me here today. You may know him as Mike Pollock, the voice of Dr. Eggman. He's been the voice of Dr. Eggman for decades. It's nice to be able to finally talk to one of the most famous gaming villains here on the chat today.
Thank you, Phil. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Now, before we get into it, let's start with a little bit of an icebreaker. Now, one question. Now, is there any place that you want to travel to but you haven't thought of yet? Anywhere out
great
of the
question.
country?
Yeah. Probably out of the country. Yeah. I'm overdue for a visit to Israel. Probably not the safest time to be in the vicinity, but call me a rebel. So sure, that should happen sometime soon.
That's true. I recently spoke to someone earlier today before I got on here with you. they are trying to get to Japan. Everybody's trying to get to Japan these days. I'm trying to get there. I think is I'm not going to be able to make it because my birthday's next month. I'll be,
Mm.
it's September 8th. I didn't make I didn't plan that far ahead because I was already traveling. I already went to Florida for a convention. I went to Raleigh, North Carolina, to spend some time with my sister. I also went to a convention as well. So I was like, it'll have to be like early 2027 or something.
Yeah, Japan's also on the radar too. The kids would probably drag me there before I'd have a desire to go personally. But it's lovely because, of course, all the Japanese stuff I've done, presumably there's some merch to pick up. But
Yeah.
one of these days, Japan could happen. My gym trainer just went there and he didn't bring me anything. So, but that's another matter.
Correct. Well, shoot, I hope we both get there eventually because I also want to go to Barcelona and I also want to go check out Singapore as well.
Mhm. The world is full of magical places.
Yeah. Damn, they say that the food's good over the at those places too.
Hmm.
Food's good.
Sure, I'll be there for that. Thank you very
Hey,
much.
hey, I want to try some new recipes. I'm trying to do that this fall too. I want to try some new dishes.
Excellent.
So can't wait.
Perfect. But it's probably much fresher there than if you try the local imitation restaurants.
There you go. So now that the ice is broken, we can go ahead and get into the main thing. So
Please.
I have 15 questions for you, just
Yeah,
to make it, and some of these are going to be two-part questions to make this go faster. Okay,
sure.
mostly
Go
it's
for
going
it.
to be since you're the voice of Dr. Eggman, it's mostly going to be Dr. Eggman, but I'm going to try to ease into that a little bit. Okay.
Cool. I hope I've studied well.
Me too. Me too. All right, so let's start with section one, the
Mm.
origin story. Always the origin story. Now, when you think back to the beginning of your journey, what first made you fall in love with performing, and at what point did you realize it could become a career?
As a kid, I loved the stage ever since I'm going to say it was third grade when we did a little pageant in the school auditorium on ancient Rome, I guess, because I have a picture of the entire class lined up and I had a bed sheet and a crown of olive leaves, I guess. And I loved being on the stage from that moment. I'm not exactly sure that particular third grade performance was high drama, but I remember being on stage and thinking, okay, this is cool. So then I pursued school theater throughout my school career, some after school theater stuff, community theater things. And then when career time came calling, in college, I majored in radio because radio was not necessarily my second love. It was my co-love along with theater. And radio seemed a little more stable as far as a career, because although neither radio nor theater are stable, with theater, stuff is very finite. You're in a show for as long as the show runs, the show closes, you're on the way to find another show. But with radio, you're on the radio till somebody decides they've had enough of you, which could theoretically be longer, could be shorter. But in this case, I chose radio and I followed my own advice because I was in radio until radio had enough of me. And then when radio had enough of me, I was able to fall back on my theater experience. I had a demo tape that I was able to put together from stuff I'd recorded, sent it out, and cartoons and anime and commercials and stuff seemed to like me. So then I said, okay, this is a better option. Let's do this.
I understand. And sometimes in these career paths, we get stuck with choice like, oh, do I really want to do this thing? Because I don't think I don't think it's my cup of tea. And so sometimes, we have to think, okay, well, let's see what else I've done over the last few years. And, for you, I was like, oh, well, I've done like the theater stuff. I say I could do the voice acting part. And by the way, I like and I respect all the work that you've done throughout the years. So it'll take time to get to where you want to go, but there are some little, speed bumps in the way.
And I'm happy to say that of all the stuff I've done, even the boring parts, I've had fun on the whole. There have been boring parts and drudgery, but on the whole, I've had fun.
And that's the point of life too. Like you gotta have the boring stuff. Listen, life is just not remembering the good stuff. It's also remembering about the bad stuff as well. So, you
Yeah.
gotta make sure because looking back, I was like, oh shoot, I really was terrible at this back then. But look at
Hmm.
me now. I'm starting to get better every day.
And there were some drudgery parts of some of the radio jobs that I've had where, boy, if AI was a thing then, I could have pawned off the drudgery work on AI and maybe not told anyone, but that's another matter.
I got you. I understand. And speaking of radio broadcasting, that transition into the next question I'm about to ask you.
Please.
Before becoming one of the most recognizable voices in gaming, you spent years working in radio and broadcasting. Now, how did those experiences shape you as a performer, and what lessons from that times do you still carry with you today?
I have always been, at least at the times when I needed to be, bold, outgoing, full of energy. And I was able to do that both on the radio and both in voiceover roles when the roles called for that. Um, Radio, from a technical standpoint, taught me microphone technique because I'm in front of a microphone doing my thing and working with headphones on. So there was a technical bit of stuff that radio taught me as far as mic technique and running control board, which I need to do now for the world of remote auditioning and recording. But just the people of radio, the environment of radio, the excitement of going out to live events and meeting our listeners was great fun. And I still hold the fondness for radio. Now it's mostly as a listener, but that's okay. There's call-in talk shows where I can call in and talk if I have the urge to be on the radio.
True. Hey, I also wanted to ask you because I know you don't. I don't know if you still do the radio and broadcast, but do you still do it today or not really?
In a way, yes, I do what I like to call private podcasts. We record stuff on the radio for my wife and I to enjoy a lot of UK-based show tunes radio shows, and then I chop them up and make them start really cleanly, end really cleanly, maybe cut out commercials, and then put them into a podcast feed so that when we play them back, the song title and artist shows up on the screen, and it's really cool. So it's almost like the behind-the-scenes stuff I would do on the radio, and it's for an audience of mostly two, but I'd consider that radio-ish. I hold myself to the same sort of deadlines, and I've got to get this on because we're going to listen to it in 2 hours. Faster. But yeah, I'll consider that sort of radio production, behind-the-scenes stuff, kind of like radio. But as far as radio with an audience, that radio has kind of gone away. So there's not really that radio to do. Podcasting is the new thing, so this is the closest I'll get in most cases to being on the radio. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And sometimes it's not always meant for us. Sometimes radio broadcast isn't meant for us. But you do learn what you've done back then and adapt it to what you're doing now with voice acting.
Mhm.
And like you said before, radio, people don't say radio anymore. It's like podcast. I don't because lately when I've been going around town lately, most people don't say radio anymore.
Mhm.
They just say podcast now.
Yeah. Kids listening to the radio these days, and I use the word kids very broadly, not really a thing. I've got my collection of radios, which has dwindled. I don't have as many radios in the house as I did, but still, when something big is happening, we're in the New York area, so we've got an all news radio station. I'll tune
Mhm.
into the all news radio station. Sometimes even just going to sleep at night, I'll just put it on sleep mode and let it play for an hour while we drift off. So again, radio, a soft spot in my heart, but also radio, not really the radio of my youth or young adulthood.
I
But I
understand.
find that I use the radio skills when I'm doing a panel at a convention and I'm trying to be engaging and entertaining. And I still recall that here's how I used to be on the radio. I'll just perform like this.
Okay. Yeah, and added to that, you have a lot of, people like myself as well. Like, the podcast and stuff is really blowing up these days. Like I've seen so many new shows popping up all over my social media feed. And I was like, well, shoot, it's a good thing I took up this thing because I'm missing out on a lot of fun stuff.
There's a lot of podcast saturation. So if you've got a lot of favorite podcasts, your listening or watching queue can get backed up really quickly. We have that problem with our private stuff that we do.
I understand, Mike. I got you. So, next up, now every career comes with obstacles, as we discussed, speed bumps, of course. Looking back, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced breaking into the industry, and what kept you moving forward?
Sure. Once I got into the industry, getting into the industry was actually the easy part at first. Uh, while working for the industry, there were a couple of suspensions and layoffs and outright firings due to creative differences or other worky things. But I bounced back pretty well. And nowadays, as a working voiceover actor, you're looking for work all the time. People think of the stuff you've done and the stuff you're doing, but they don't think of the ongoing search for work, which is our business. So every day I've got agents sending me auditions and I've got to go in these days remotely. So right here in my little studio, I go in, record, clean it up, send it out, hope someone likes it, fingers crossed. And if they do, I booked the job. I get to go in and record that job. But one of the facts of our business is auditions very often get ignored. The days of don't call us, we'll call you. Nobody says that. You send your stuff in. If they like you, they'll get in touch. If they don't like you, you assume they've listened and are not interested, and you move on to the next thing. One thing we have learned among my colleagues and I, no does not mean no. No means not now. So I audition, and the ones that don't book, not now. The ones that book, yay, I booked a gig.
True. And I'm listening to some of you guys now. Like, I think also, like you said, like, auditions get ignored, but you also have to deal with a lot of rejections as well. I've seen
Mhm.
so many of you guys deal with rejections. And to be honest, it's hard to deal with rejections, but once you have the discipline and be like, yeah, it really doesn't phase me as much. You can pretty much, because I know like some people who does is like, if y'all don't like handle it, it's like, I don't think this is the right career for you because you're gonna deal with all those kind of rejections.
Yeah, the common wisdom is submit your thing, forget about it. So you send in your audition. You don't say, oh, I should have to check that I booked that. I'm checking the email. Don't check. Just if they want you, they'll call. The biggest risk is missing the email saying, hey, we'd like to book you for a thing. That really seldom happens these days. But you send it in, you forget it, and you're on to the next thing.
Exactly. Like, all right, that takes care of that. Come on, let's get
Mhm.
out of here. Pretty much. So,
Mhm.
all right. Well, on to this one. Oh, this one's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
Before Sonic became part of your life, was there a particular moment in your career that gave you the confidence to believe I can really do this for a living?
Um, the real turning point was when I went on my first commercial audition that I booked, and that was, I think, one of my very early auditions. So I had a bit of luck right out of the gate, pretty much. And it was for a local gift basket company. I'll give them a plug. They're still in business. Capalbo's Gift Baskets. They are located in New Jersey. I went in for an audition, and I recall when the actual recording session happened, I came down with a cold. And I don't
Ooh.
remember if I had the cold when I auditioned, but uh, I remember, I think this was the right audition. I went in and I made a very weird first impression on the casting director because I didn't know there was a sign-in area and then there was her little studio where she was sitting and waiting. And I wandered into her studio first, and she looked at me with disdain, saying, "You need to not be in here." Okay. Went out, went into the other area. Now, this is actually a different audition, but I'll finish the story. Then I went in, dripping wet from the rain, and went and did my audition. But I think the audition for this thing was a different bit. But I went in, and fortunately for the booking, when they decided they wanted me, it was a very whiny, nerdy office guy kind of character, and I was able to hide my sickness with lots of herbal tea and inhalers and stuff. But it was just me being whiny, and you really couldn't hear the congestion, and it was great. They loved my performance. They were amazed that I was able to make such disturbing noises, and it was a big win. So that was first big commercial, and I kept auditioning for stuff, and I booked other stuff. I didn't book more stuff than that. That's the way it is. But I kept auditioning and kept booking. Every booking is a precious gift and a reminder that someone thinks you're the right person for the job. That's the highest compliment that could be paid in some ways.
Yeah. Man, I didn't know you had a sickness when you got this thing, man.
Well,
But
hopefully,
let's
people listening to the final recording couldn't tell either.
listen, I'd be stubborn too. I was like, I want to do something, but I hate being sick too, man. But I was like, no, I ain't gonna let you defeat me. I'm gonna get this thing done. But that must have been really exciting. Like, shoot, like you went to the thing and didn't know, and then later was like, you don't need to see this. It's kind of like top secret.
Hmm. Yeah, but I went in. It was the first time in a real life. Well, not my first time in a real life studio. I've been in studio and radio, but the first time in a standalone voiceover recording studio, and it was just spectacular. It was everything I hoped it would be.
Oh man, I gotta keep going to, because last month, California just did their anime expo thing and they had like all those test runs and all that stuff. I couldn't make it because I was already going out of town last month to North Carolina. So I'm trying to go there next time so I can see what it's like when you guys are doing y'all thing. So I can be like, let's see if I can do what they're doing. Just
See,
uh, you
it,
know. Now,
Give it a shot.
I do get goosebumps. I do get goosebumps when I do something new. So,
Understood. It can be nerve-wracking, but for me, by the time I decided to do voiceover as a standalone career, I'd already been in front of microphones and on stages. So I very seldom get nervous and stage fright. I'm just, okay, I think I know I can do this. Let me audition and see if anyone else thinks I can do this. It's
mhm,
not really up to me at that point.
yeah. And pretty much like now that you've done this for so many years, it's like, man, it really doesn't faze me as much.
In most
So,
cases, yeah. Stage fright once or twice in my life that I can remember, but generally, put me on a stage. Hi, everybody. I'm on a stage now.
there you go. There you go. Well, it's time for the big event. Dr.
Okay.
Eggman from Sonic the
I've,
Hedgehog.
I've heard of him.
There you go. So section 2 is becoming Dr. Eggman. So let's do this first two-part question, okay? Now,
Mhm.
Dr. Eggman is one of the most iconic villains in video games history. Now, when you first stepped into recording booth, what was your approach to making the character your own while honoring everything that came before? Part 2.
Mhm.
You voiced Dr. Eggman for more than 2 decades, and 2 decades is a long time, trust me. As as you've grown as an actor, how has your understanding of the character evolved over the years?
It starts with the audition process for Sonic X at the time. I was given clips of Dean Bristow, the previous actor, and then at that time the current actor, to sound alike. I think we all were, or at least most of us who auditioned for Sonic X were booked as sound alike. So they sent me clips of Dean Bristow, a couple dozen. I listened to them. I worked on my Dean Bristow impression, which I didn't really have until that moment. But basically, it's I'm Dean Bristow. He's down here as an evil. Went in, did my audition. I guess the Sega folks who were making the ultimate final decision, not convinced, went back in for a callback, did the same Dean Bristow thing I've been working on. Second round of callbacks, all the time, did the same Dean Bristow thing. And by the third time, I guess they decided, you'll do. So I went into the first few episodes of Sonic X, basically doing down here, Dean Bristow, deep, deep. The director, the producer came to me 3 or 4 episodes in, says, we love what you're doing, but we'd like to add more peaks and valleys for comedy purposes. So they gave me a
Mm,
reference of Martin Short's Jiminy Glick character, who starts up way up high and then goes way down low. And suddenly in came the peaks and valleys for comedy. And that was how Dr. Eggman essentially remained up through the years with minor variations. But the big turning point was in 2010 when I was asked to re-audition for the big recasting of 2010, and I was fortunate enough to be reselected, which was spectacular. New director, different type of director, very much an accomplished actor, theatrical director, and he and I got each other. He spoke actor, I spoke director, I guess. We had a lot of common references. So he loved what I was doing, but he was also quite willing to take Dr. Eggman in new and exciting directions. And especially one case in point would be Sonic Frontiers, when Sega was looking for a more grounded performance. And I realized when listening back to some of my recordings, I ended up not doing much of a character voice at all. It just became me, but much more quiet and intimate and different. And it was just an interesting acting challenge of playing something new and exciting that was not the broad comedy and extra broad villainy that I had been used to. And it was just an excellent challenge. Same thing was in early on in Sonic 06. May it be erased from possibly everyone's memory because people hate it.
hmm
But that was a different take. We'd been doing Sonic X for that time, and it was all comedy. And then I saw the realistic take on Dr. Eggman's looks and actual violence, and saying, I guess this won't be played for comedy. Let me try something different. So that was that. But that was not really relying on directors because the directors for that game, that's great. Are they here? Did I say that bad? So I did a lot of self-directing. But yeah, so those were two big turning points, I would say.
Okay, okay, yeah, because and trust me, listen, I'm a huge Sonic fan. You know, my sister is too,
I
and
can tell.
yeah, because yeah, you see the poster right there in the
Hmm.
back. I still need to get a frame for that thing. I'm gonna get a frame for my birthday
Excellent.
finally. I just,
Fantastic.
it's just money.
Understood.
So, but yes, playing those games like I've been playing like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Rush, Sonic Rush Adventure, and to be honest, like when I've been listening to your performance with Sonic, you like I would say that you've done a great job maintaining his voice for this long. It's like nothing has changed. He's still doing the same thing. The only thing that's better, the only thing that's different is the games and his perspectives on different
Hmm.
things. Because and I think Ryan Bartley, right? I
Hmm.
spoke to
Oh,
her.
sure.
I spoke to her early this year in May. Like I've been trying to speak to her for almost a year now, Mike. It was,
Hmm. She's lovely.
but we made it work because I was just preaching to the choir.
Hmm.
So and just when we talked about the Sonic Frontiers, and as I said before, the team in Sega Japan were trying to figure out where to take Sonic for the next decade. Because we're in like in the year 2026. The technology is starting to evolve around us, and it's
Hmm.
like we need to make sure, or like this is like define what a true modern Sonic game is. Not just like one straightforward path, because what she told me is that now y'all got the Sonic Frontiers. It's not like a happy, kiddly, friendly game. It's more mature now.
Hmm. Yeah, at least for Frontiers, other stuff may not necessarily follow that same template. But yeah, it's great that they gave us the opportunity to try something new and more grounded and different. And it was it was a delightful challenge to try that.
Mhm. Yeah, and like I will say this too. Like I just don't like with Sonic X. Trust me, listen, I watched Sonic X over 50 times. It's an amazing show. I will not stop watching it because it's
Excellent.
amazing. Because when I was listening to, and also when I was watching something like the Japanese version of the show, they play Live and Learn in episode 39.
Hmm.
And I was like, they cut this out from the English. Why did they do that?
There's probably rights issues. I don't know.
I was like, I hate copyright.
Well,
I,
one thing about Four Kids that I have to remind people is they were not doing translations, they're doing adaptations. So
Mhm.
while I understand the desire for purists to, well, I want a direct translation, I want to experience it exactly the way Japanese would experience it. Yeah, but that's not Four Kids deal. They are localizing for an American audience, their American audience. So sorry, it was freely adapted because that's what they did. No,
And I
sorry.
really can't, and I really can't be mad. Y'all, like I said, you guys are just doing y'all job, trying to make it, because I will, because some of the stuff in the English subtitles, sometimes they have a lot of mature stuff that's not
Hmm.
age appropriate for kids.
Hmm.
Take Bakugan. If you remember Bakugan back in the day, Bakugan Battle Brawlers,
Hmm.
some of the stuff that I saw in the Japanese version was cut out because I was like, well, shoot, that's a little graphic. Now I understand why they took this out into from this version because there's a lot of like swear words and stuff in the Japanese version. There's a lot of like, and they also had like a lot of insert songs too because of copywritten.
Hmm.
So now I'm starting from you. So now that I'm talking to you from your perspective, I say, okay, now I understand why they couldn't put Live and Learn into this episode for Science S because there's probably just a lot of stuff just deals with copyright. They couldn't reach a decision with copyright.
Yeah, and also back in the day, it was on broadcast TV, so you had the broadcast standards and practices, commonly known as the censorship department, and so they would say, "Well, this isn't happening. This isn't going on our airwaves." So poor kids would have to make necessary edits in those cases.
Well, shoot, to anybody watching, if you want to watch those scenes, go watch the Japanese version. So
Hmm.
it is what it is. That's why I was like, you know what, it is what it is. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna complain about it any longer.
And if you want to hear Live and Learn, it's available on streaming platforms near you. You can play it anytime you want.
There you go. There you
Hmm.
go. Next up about him. Now, Dr. Eggman is brilliant, theoretical, and hilarious, and at times generally intimidating when he wants to be. Now, how do you find the right balance between those different sides of his personality when you're behind the microphone?
I rely on my director, especially now since 2010, and the lovely and talented Jack Fletcher. Jack egotistically, I will say Jack loves what I do, which is great. I love what Jack does. But if Jack does not hear what he wants, he will usually give us three takes in a row. So when we do games, the lines are one line at a time. So I will give him three takes. He'll pick a select from one of those three, and if he doesn't get something he likes, so let's try three more, or let's try two more. And I give him what I think is correct. He usually agrees. Sometimes he doesn't, but either way, they don't let me leave until they have what they need. So he makes sure that for every line that I'm performing, there is a take that fits his overall vision.
Well, hey, we got to make sure we have the whole cake, okay? We can't just have half of it. We want to
Mm-hmm.
have this big celebration cake for the ending, so we
Mm-hmm.
can, if it's not perfect, then people are not going to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be perfect, and sometimes y'all may have to be in there for like a long time because like we want to make sure it's perfect, and also you got deadlines. So one thing I've talked to you guys about, y'all got deadlines. We got to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that it's perfect, otherwise the people are not going to play these games or enjoy the shows that we watch.
Mm-hmm.
Because and also, and I will say this, the internet, you got a lot of critics out there, and a lot of purists who want perfection. And sometimes my sister be getting on to me, man, you rate everything 10 out of 10. But that's because I actually liked it.
Mm-hmm.
If I enjoyed it, then that's good enough for me. But it's probably more that I need to pay attention to the art and the style and how they did things too. I need to do better with analyzing these movies, games, and TV shows as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
lately I've been doing like analysis on like certain shows and everything. I recently did one about my adventures with Superman season 3 and whatnot. So yeah, like you said, with you guys being in the booth for so long, it's gotta be perfect.
Mm-hmm. They usually book us for up to 4 hours, and we take as long as we need. If we use all 4 hours because we need all 4 hours, we'll take it. If we're done in two, hey, we're done in two. Look at us. Think of the time we'll save. But yeah, they again they let us leave when they have what they want.
They gotta make sure they got all pieces to the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
but
some
yes,
alternate takes in case they change their mind. So yeah.
exactly. And with Dr. Eggman, like I know there's a lot of villains out there who like to be all serious, but I
Mm-hmm.
know for some people who like to see, oh, let's give the villains more of a comedic style. People like Joker, for example. Mark Hamill's Joker, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
gotta be. He wants to be funny and have a good time while he's killing Batman. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
with Doctor Eggman. He wants to have a good time while he's trying to crush Sonic and his friends all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't have a good time, then they're not. It doesn't make it more fun for them being the bad guy.
Sure. And fortunately, it's all fictional. Hate to break it to you, kids, but it's not real. So we get to have a little more fun than say if it was real life violence happening outside your door.
And that's what makes those characters so funny. And even Bowser, even Kenny James, who does Bowser, in the Super Mario Brothers games, I still want to talk to him one of these days eventually, because I was like, come on, I just want to talk to Bowser one time.
I met him briefly. He was very nice.
So listen, I'm a huge Nintendo nerd. Like, shoot, I even got the Nintendo Switch. So
Oh, excellent
I'm
choice.
I'm a huge Nintendo person, Mike.
Nice.
So I
Nice.
hope you don't judge me.
No, no. You people like what they like. You're free to like what you like.
There you go. So the next one is about Sonic Frontiers because when I was playing the game, I saw a different side of Eggman that I didn't see before in the previous games, and that really caught my attention.
Mhm.
Um, Throughout Sonic's history, Dr. Eggman has always been driven by his ambition, his intellect, and his rivalry with Sonic.
Mhm.
But in Sonic Frontiers, through his relationship with Sage, fans got to see a more protective and emotional, vulnerable side of him. Now, what was it like exploring those layers of Eggman's personality, and did portraying these moments change the way you view the character after all these years?
It's tricky because you got to think. I don't obsess about what's canon and what's not, but part of me thinks, well, okay, if he's showing this side of himself, is this supposed to be carried on through future projects, or is this just a one-off thing? In fact, we did a Twitter takeover just after Sonic Frontiers, and one of the questions, because the Twitter takeover is not done by our usual director, we're pretty much self-directing, but our question for the social media team who was in charge was, are we giving our Sonic Frontiers style performance, or are we back to the big, slightly cartoony versions of the characters? And they said, a little more, a little Frontier, somewhere in between.
Okay.
Okay, great. So it was great to explore. As a parent myself, I was able to do a little bit of method acting. I'm not usually a method actor, but I was able to think, okay, if this was me and my daughter, here's what I do. But it was more, am I pulling back the character so much that there's no character left? And that's kind of the case. But as I trust our director, Jack, who I've mentioned implicitly, he liked what I was doing. So even though the character was not nearly as charactery as it has been in the past, that was okay with Jack. So if it was okay with Jack, it's okay with me. But it was great to explore. Again, I love a challenge, and I love to see what can we do. Let's pull out all the stops and see where this character can go. And if it goes in this direction and people like it and they seem to, then cool, mission accomplished.
Mm, that's great. Yeah, because I know, like, and this, listen, the first time I played Sonic Series was back in 2022 when it first came out.
Hmm.
I was in college. I had to get my degrees and stuff, Mike.
Excellent. I'm
So,
glad you found time to play games in between.
yes, I did. Thing is, I never thought that Sega would go deep with Dr. Eggman like this because back in the day, from the early 2000s, he was all about trying to take over the world, bit Eggman land.
Hmm.
But when we get to like the future now with Sonic Frontiers, like in 2022, where the technology is starting to grow all around us, I never thought Eggman could really be like a father figure to Sage. Like
Hmm.
that's what shocked me when I first played the game. I was like, "Hey, Dr. Eggman, this ain't like you. What happened, buddy?"
Hmm.
And I was like, now I did gotta get a little emotional. I did get emotional at the end of the game where he lost Sage, and I was like,
Hmm.
shoot, I kind of feel bad for Dr. Eggman in this game.
I'm a full service actor, and I love again to take the challenge and run and remind people that yeah, I can play drama as well as comedy. So thank you. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and sometimes, when I be seeing all these villains, sometimes they're not as bad as they seem if you really just sit down and understand them. Quote in My Hero Academia here, where Deku just wants to save people
Mhm.
and just really understand the villain's backstory, why when he interacts with these guys like Shigaraki, All for One, Muscular, Lady Naga, the list goes on. Same thing what happens with these video game characters like Shu. Okay, well, so pretty much Dr. Eggman is fighting for something other than himself in this game.
Mhm.
So when they had to team up with Sonic to fight to face up against, the end. I can't believe they put something like the end, like the last boss. Yeah, he was really fighting for something really different this time. Now back then he was fighting against, characters like Neo Metal and the Ark, but he was saying those alliances were purely out of desperation.
Mhm.
But but deep down, teamed up with Sonic. You had to team up with Sonic back then.
Mhm.
And I like how Sonic Frontiers was like telling all like what happened back then with like, for example, when Sonic and Tails were investigating the weapon, that was on par with Dark Gaia by a mile. Sonic Unleashed,
Mhm.
Sonic Heroes, the and Sonic Adventure 2. I was like, okay, I see where they're going with this. I like how they telling so much, like past games and backstories into Sonic Frontiers now. Sorry if I'm talking too much. I'm geeking
No,
out.
that's all right. I, we get so little feedback when we're in the booth recording. It's great to hear what people think of having played the game. So you love the game. That's great to know.
Mhm. So, and lately, I've been playing a lot more, just like Sonic, I've been playing a lot more stories when I do like, because I also do Twitch as well. I do Twitch
Mhm.
streaming, but I've been playing more stories than doing multiplayer matches because I like all the stories that you guys are telling these games. And people kept saying, oh, we're just playing a game because it's fun. But sometimes you don't pay attention to what the stories are like. Sometimes the stories send out a lot of messages that you don't see until you get to the end of the game.
Mhm.
And it took me a while to get it. Listen, I was only a kid. I'm a grown adult now, so I can really pay attention. I was like, it's good to listen. It's good to revisit stuff, and especially with like series like Sonic the Hedgehog and everything. It's good to experience that when you're an adult now, because as a kid, you really don't pay attention. But
Sure,
it's good to revisit when you get to a certain age as well.
sure. There's layers, and you don't appreciate all the layers until you're older.
It Exactly. But shoot, I hope Sega keeps telling more stories like that, like with Sonic Frontiers. Like, shoot, I was gonna play Sonic Frontiers again this fall. I won't stop playing the game.
Good. Keep on playing. As
Yep.
long as the game still works, please keep on playing.
E- exactly. I won't stop listening. I've been a fan of Sonic One. Well, one, blue's my favorite color. So
Excellent.
that's why I got a blue gaming chair and this blue microphone. So
Nice. A
so
classic.
blue's my favorite color since day one.
Nice.
So um next up, now looking back across all the Sonic games you've worked on, was there a particular scene, speech, or recording session that challenged you creatively and emotionally more than fans might expect?
Probably in Frontiers with the loss of Sage.
Okay.
And I pulled again. I went method and pulled from real emotion. So that was a lovely challenge. I'm glad that the director and production team liked it, and I'm glad that fans liked it. Mission accomplished, as I like to say.
That works. Yeah, I knew because I knew because I knew like Song for Tears would be like a different mindset for you because I know back then you were just so focused on playing the villain, but
Mm-hmm.
now you get to play a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and listen, I will tell you one thing, Mike. The one scene that made me emotional was when, like I said, when he lost Strange and he was just reaching out like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, that's like saying, like, he really lost something that was important to him.
Yep. And remember that when we're recording, we're not looking at the visuals. So I'm delighted that they were able to marry my performance to the appropriate visuals, and it worked out.
Yeah. I almost cried once, Mike. I was trying to
That's
keep it
okay.
in.
That's all right, Phil. You're a grown man now. You're allowed to cry.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm just thinking about it again. I was like, oh, shoot, I'm going to get emotional again when I play the game again.
That's all right.
So, hey, it's part of being human, right?
Lock the door. Bring a handkerchief. No one needs to know.
There you go. Last question, and then we'll be on the next session, which is the Sonic legacy. Okay.
Sure.
Now, after portraying Dr. Eggman for so many years, yes, so many years, what do you think is the biggest misconception fans have him about as a character?
Mm. Uh, One of the big, it's not quite as a character, but it is one big misconception that I love to clear up. People think that the Sonic X cast replaced the previous Sonic cast because Dean Bristow passed away.
Mm,
Not entirely true. We had already been recording Sonic X when I was notified by fans online that Dean Bristow had passed away. So we had already done our thing for a couple of years. Because if you look at the timeline, Sonic X was 2003. Dean Bristow passed in 2005. We had already recorded Shadow the Hedgehog as our first game. So it's correlation and not causation. So to those who say, well, you only took Dr. Eggman because Dean Bristow passed away, I said, no, that's not the chronology. They had already recast the bulk of the cast for Sonic X in 2003. So not quite the timeline.
right. Shoot. And this is why it goes back saying like sometimes the fans just be looking at the show and they don't be asking like the more important question about how they like put this all together. No,
Mm-hmm.
and as I said before, these fans when they just like when they hear something new that's coming out, they just be like, oh well, it's another new show and I'm excited to see about. But do you guys take the time out of your day to know like what it's all about first,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I've been doing with the shows. Like, I don't like when I usually look at something or go somewhere, I usually do my research on something saying, like, now that I'm sitting down there talking to you, I didn't know that, Sonic X had that kind of development stage where it's like, oh, this person passed away. And it's like, y'all had to make some changes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But again, correlation, not causation. We were booked to audition for Sonic. We were asked to audition for Sonic X while the other cast were all alive and well, and Dean Bristow passed 2 years later. So you can't say, well, you were only cast because no, that's not
Mm-mm.
why.
Exactly. Yeah, make sure, yeah, y'all listen. Make sure y'all have all of the details first. Hey, anybody listen, make sure you ask questions.
You're entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts. So
It,
look at the
exactly.
facts and see if they can make them agree with your preconception. And if they can't, you might want to check your opinions at the door.
Mm-hmm. Let's go on to section 3. We're getting
Okay.
close to the end. Before we continue, are you joining our discussion today?
Oh, absolutely. This is fantastic.
That's great. Again, I come with receipts, buddy. If I don't, then what am I
Appreciate
doing this? What am I doing this for?
appreciate it. 2 thumbs up from me.
There you go. All right, so section 3 is the Sonic legacy. So Sonic has inspired multiple generations of fans around the world. Now, when you meet people at conventions, what's the most rewarding part about seeing the impact Dr. Eggman has had on their lives?
Hearing that I was their childhood, which is lovely and flattering and reminds me how old I am. But that's okay. That's not the problem. I am delighted that we could grow up together and possibly, in my case, grow old together. But to have been your childhood, there are few greater honors. So If I was your childhood, thank you so much for watching as you were growing up.
Yes, it's amazing. And I hope I get to see you in person at some of these conventions too. I try my best, but
Please.
travel expenses,
Hmm. That's
is
why in most cases for conventions they shell out big bucks to bring us in. So wait for them to cover our travel costs, and then you won't have to cover your own. We'll be right in
that's
town.
yeah,
Ask your local con to invite me.
I'm based in Georgia.
Oh,
So
sure.
I'm close to Atlanta too, but sometimes my small town Savannah, we have a few cons here and there.
I did a con in the little Savannah con some time ago, but cons definitely exist in Savannah. So
Yeah, at
ask your
least
local con to have me in.
I met Lisa Ortiz earlier this year in January. She was here.
Mhm.
She
See,
is very sweet.
she's lovely.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to talk to her at a later date. But yes, I would do that. But yeah, Sonic has been down because like Sonic has been around for so many years since the '90s now, and now y'all just had the 35th anniversary. You think it's a
Mhm.
coincidence that it's the 35th anniversary and I'm talking to Dr. Eggman today? Oh my gosh, I don't think it's a coincidence.
It's delighted to be a part of your podcast on this auspicious occasion of the Sonic 35th anniversary.
Exactly. Again, I will get a frame for that thing.
Please do.
I just listen. I need to get a frame before this year's over, otherwise it will lose the 35th anniversary value.
Sure. And keep it safe.
Yeah.
Don't let it get all crinkled.
Yes, and then you got, I don't know if you've seen any of the movies. So it's because they just announced another Sonic the Hedgehog. They're doing Sonic the Hedgehog 4 now, and Christine
Mhm.
Bell is Amy Rose.
Excellent. Yeah, people have asked, and I have to explain. I've not seen the films because I already know I'm not in them.
Oh, you gotta check out the films while if you can first. I will say that if you can.
It's
So,
going to be a bit of a time before I'm ready to see the films. But
cause late,
never say never.
cause yeah, cause lately they're trying to like make these films be like more like Avengers level threats for Sonic.
Hmm.
That's what they're saying. I was like, okay, this ought to be interesting.
Yep, it's a tricky thing because when I prefer to take my characterization and direction notes from the production team, so I don't necessarily want my interpretation to be shaped by not not an unofficial performance. It's obviously an official performance, but I don't want my performance to be shaped by something that shouldn't shape it. So
Mm,
there there there
understood.
there are tricky bits involved.
I understand. Yeah. Next up, now, if you could revisit any chapter of Dr. Eggman's story or
Mhm.
explore a side of him that fans haven't seen yet, what kind of story would love to tell?
Well, Sonic Boom was a special experience mostly because we got to record ensemble style, so we got to all play in real time against each other. There have been many untold stories of the curmudgeonly old man that is Dr. Eggman in that universe that I would love to explore more. You know, what gets under his skin, and what crotchety old man stories can we tell? So yeah, I would like to see more of his home life, fighting with electronics that don't want to work, and fighting with bureaucracy, which he's touched on in Sonic Boom. But being an adult myself in today's modern world, there's plenty more bureaucracy and customer service calls that go wrong that I would love to explore in a future Sonic Boom episode or two.
Oh, man, because I know people kept criticizing Sonic Boom, saying it wasn't a good show. I actually enjoyed Sonic Boom. I know it was like a little comedy, but don't you guys want to take a break from all the action or something? I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
I appreciate with again people's preconceived notions, and you think that well, this is what Sonic and his crew have to be. Yeah, but the fun of exploring something that you hadn't thought of that is not something that you would thought they have to be, I think is a fun little experiment. When
Mm.
we went and workshopped the very first episode of Sonic Boom, we all thought, well, this is different. It's fun. It's funny. Let's play. And we did.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually 2 years ago, like before I was my last year in college, I actually played Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric and I liked the game. Of course it was on the Wii U and it didn't
Mhm.
do so well with the Wii and all the stuff. I was like, as long as I enjoyed the game, I was like, yes, I like this kind of thing. We get to team up and like just like fighting all this stuff. That way, we're not just going like a simple. Okay, well, yeah, we're going in a similar direction when we get to some of those areas, but it's still more freedom going per se.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people didn't care for the games that were tied into Sonic Boom, and I get that, but I will point out we had fun recording them.
As long as you have fun recording them, that's what
Hmm.
matters.
Hmm.
So listen, a Pierce will have issues. I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Hmm. You
So
can't please everyone.
it's exactly. Next up, and then we'll be at the finale. Now
Okay.
after all these years, what continues to make returning to the role of Dr. Eggman exciting for you every time you step into the booth?
It's always a new script. I always wonder what the script's going to be. If I have time to read over the script in advance, I will. That was more important with Sonic Boom, mostly because it was a live record, live with the whole casting. So I liked to be a little extra prepared. But even when these days when I'm recording, I don't always read through the script in advance. So even in the middle of recording, I'll come up on a line and say, "That's funny. Oops, I didn't read that ahead. Sorry." But whatever the scripts are always a new and exciting challenge with new and exciting comedy and or new exciting drama and action. And I'm always thrilled to see what is in the newest script.
Mm, right. So pretty much it's like, oh well, yeah, listen, as long as I get to play Dr. Eggman, I'm gonna have great time with it.
Sure,
You know,
what's not to like?
Exactly. And I will also say this, you like, you never even left Dr. Eggman. You never left Dr. Eggman. They keep trying to come out with new games for Sonic.
Yeah, there are little breaks in between. Perhaps the movies might be one exception, and Sonic Prime might be an exception. But generally, they keep calling and I keep answering.
Yeah, shoot. Well, I can't wait to see what the next game's going to be after Frontiers because I know they just did Sonic Time Shadow. Hold on. The let's see, because I know they just did Sonic Racing Crossroads last year, and they just did Sonic and Shadow Generations.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to see what they do for the rest of the decade.
I'm sure big things are happening. I've already
Mm.
said too much.
Oh, but I want to see it. But I was like, you know what? I want to be surprised when it happens.
Fiction relies on the element of surprise, so no spoilers.
There you go. Well, we're at the finale. Let's talk about a little bit of reflection.
Let's
So
take it
now,
home.
when your career is eventually looked back on years from now, what do you hope people remember most, not just about Dr. Eggman, but about you as a performer and a person?
I hope they found me entertaining and surprising. I love to say, much to some people's dismay, my versatility is highly underrated. So for the people who think of me just as Dr. Eggman, that's great. But in the average year, Dr. Eggman is just a few hours in the course of a year. As I said, I'm always auditioning for new stuff. I'm always recording new stuff. And if you broaden your horizons and look in the deeper crevices of the entertainment industry, you may find some other stuff I did, and you say, "That's Mike. Mike can do that. Wow, who knew?" Mike is kind of an entertaining guy.
Gotta have entertainment and comedy and just listen, video games and TV shows and movies, we gotta have a little bit of laughter and funny moments.
Sure, and drama is entertaining too in its own way, for different
Mhm.
reasons. But I love the challenge of getting to do drama and tragedy and all sorts of stuff you wouldn't expect because it surprises me when I can do it effectively, and I hope it will surprise the people watching and listening to.
E- Exactly, man. I can't wait to see what else you do for these next few years. I'm excited.
Please.
So,
So am I.
la- there you go.
I barely know
Yes.
what I'm doing tomorrow.
Yeah. Lastly, finally, for aspiring voice actors who dream of building a career as long and successful as yours, what's the biggest piece of advice you want to leave them with?
Leave your inhibitions at the door. If you're going to go in, be bold, be big, because the director and producer can always pull you back and say, "Hold on there, not so big." But don't go and think, "I'm nervous. I don't know what I'm going to do." No, go in confidently. You're there because they liked your voice. They thought you could bring something to the performance. Prove them right.
Prove them right. You heard Mike. Prove them right. Do your thing. Don't worry about it. Say a quick prayer before you go inside.
Hmm.
Mhm. So,
It's your
oh,
time. Make it count.
it Exactly. Well, I think that kind of wraps up everything. I think you enjoyed our discussion today.
Excellent. Thank you, Phil. It was spectacular.
Mm. Now, I hope I didn't ramble too much, but there was so much stuff we had to talk about.
That's all right. I'm a rambler too at times, so I get it. You can turn your filter off with me. It's okay.
Yeah.